Hi, everyone. I hoped you liked part one of my interview with Robert Potter and Dr. Raymond Keller. Prepare yourself for the second part, which might be the most controversial episode I have ever done to date. So, we start out talking about what exactly Mount Shasta is and why it is so important. And then we dive straight into a heavy and serious conversations about Jesus and the missing Gospels. That's the controversial part. I know you like it when we get crazy, weird, deep, and just straight up out there. So prepare yourself for this second part series on my Ben Solo show because you will absolutely love this one if you loved the first one. Now, just to note, just because we have someone on the show doesn't mean we necessarily believe or even agree with everything they say. However, I do love conversations that make you question reality or get us to think about things that we may never have thought before, and even test our own understanding about life, universe, and everything that we know to exist. And this show definitely does that. So I hope you enjoy the second part series. So without further ado, let me introduce Robert Potter and Dr. Raymond Keller. Hi, Robert Potter and Dr. Raymond Keller. Thanks again for coming back for this part two. Part one, we had a phenomenal conversation, and I can't wait to see what comes out of part two. But at first, I just want to dive right into Mount Shasta. I mean, I want to know what your understanding of Mount Shasta is and why you feel it's so important and what makes it that brings people here from all over the world. And also, what do you think is the connection to Lemuria? Hey everyone, I hoped you liked this part one with Dr. Raymond Keller and Robert Potter. Join me for part two, where it might be just the most controversial episode I've ever done to date. We will get into Mount Shasta and what it really is and its connections to Lemuria, as well as the missing Gospels of the Bible with Jesus. That's the controversial part. So join us for part two. And until next time, I will see you guys out in space. Hi, Robert Potter and Dr. Raymond Keller. Thanks again for coming back for this part two. Part one, we had a phenomenal conversation, and I can't wait to see what comes out of part two. But at first, I just want to dive right into Mount Shasta. I mean, I want to know what your understanding of Mount Shasta is and why you feel it's so important and what makes it that brings people here from all over the world. And also, what do you think is the connection to Lemuria?
I'm going to answer that, and I'll let Kaz follow up.
Okay.
Mount Shasta is one of the major portals on the planet. There are vortexes and natural lines called exons or acupuncture points of the Earth. Mount Shasta, Israel, many of them, and these portals can be accessed and used for both good and bad purposes. In fact, some of the other forces are using it, trying to open up portals into lower demon hell, and that's being eliminated now by the light forces. There have been some covenants that have ended recently. We're moving forward, but there's special places where natural attraction of tachyons take place and create a confluence of energy, and we see these beautiful nature spots are holding these vortexes. So there's major, minor vortexes and portals. Kaz?
Okay. Yes, and as Rob mentioned, these are all connected with the ancient civilization of Lemuria that had contact with Venusians and other extraterrestrials. And my first experience with at Mount Shasta led to my entrance into the whole contactee phenomenon. I was going there with.
Oh, great. I love this story. Go ahead, Kaz.
Yeah, I was going there with a chapter. We had the Outer Space International Research and Investigation Society, OSIRIS, and we have 14 chapters worldwide, about 7,500 members. It's a UFO group back in the 1980s, and it's going to the Salt Lake City chapter, and Clayton Parker, who was a boyhood friend of Annalise Guerin, was going to the prophetess Annalise Guerin was going to take us up to Mount Shasta on this pilgrimage, and he said we would meet an ascended master there. So, being into the UFOs and everything, we thought, okay, we'll give it a chance. We didn't think it was very, very likely. But when we got there to the base of the mountain, he told us to follow this path up from the parking lot and just keep following it as far as we could go. He wasn't going to go with us. He was 87 years old at the time, and
They
so
went up. There's a place called Squaw Meadow. They went up there and they sat down by this stream. And then what happened, Cos?
Okay, then when we got there, we were drinking from the stream and just sitting down, and then just at first it just looked like a weird twinkle of light, sunlight, but then it kind of coalesced into like a beam, and a woman in white materialized in the middle of it, wearing a jumpsuit, a white jumpsuit with gold braid around it. And she said her name was first she said not to be afraid. Her name was Lady Ankara, and she was going to answer our questions about flying saucers.
Interesting.
And there was 8 of us there, and she stayed with us for about 3 hours. And then Kay Studstrup, whose home we usually met at in Murray, Utah, she brought a camera and asked if she could take a picture. And she took this picture of Lady Ankara in the middle of all of us. And then after we had all said goodbye, she hugged everybody, and she had disappeared in the same manner that she appeared. And when we got all the way back to the Salt Lake City area, we took it to a 1-hour photo lab, and we're all waiting around to see the pictures. And she wasn't anywhere in the middle of the
Wow.
at all. She wasn't in the picture at all. And Clayton said that's because she's of a lighter density, and her molecular structure is vibrating much faster than the rest of us. And it wasn't surprising, because he revealed her identity as being Annalise Guerin, the author of 9 metaphysics.
She was a Mormon saint who was excommunicated. Cos, you skipped some, and I'm going to have to tell it. So she's sitting there and she's talking to them, right? So, Raymond says there was the mountain had snow on it, and he looked behind it. It looked like there were some bugs there on the mountain, and he goes, what are those bugs? She goes, well, I'm actually not here.
Interesting.
I'm on a planet called Bellaton in the Sirius B sector, around the Sirius B star, and I am building a Venusian colony of longhouses with the permission of the native species, which are mantis beings. So I'm actually in a bilocation signal here, and the beings you see behind me, we've heard about this in other contactees. They're the ones that can open portals and kind of guard the pathways for stuff. So Raymond likes to leave out some of his amazing, but you can see the level of effort and communication that's going on outside our realms. and the information that Raymond has to share.
It's yeah. Sorry. Just doing some. Yeah, that's. I mean, I've heard this in different places and different aspects of things too, where you're taking a photo of something, and Mount Shasta. I mean, I've been I was there at Mount Shasta once last year, and it was my first time I ever went, and I've always wanted to go, and it's just. It's a phenomenal place. I mean, you can definitely feel the energy is just so different. And then on the smaller mountain, I can't remember what Bear Mountain is it called. I can't remember the name of it, but there's
Is
all
that
the
Lassen, you mean?
yeah, that might be it.
Well, there's a little. You mean the cinder cone is called Black Butte?
Yeah, that's it. Where you can actually see the if you go up there, you can see like there was like ancient ruins and stuff up there. Like it's pretty obvious. I mean, it's not like fallen stone. It's like literally like ancient ruins. So that proves that there was already something there. And so many people have so many spiritual experiences that I've talked with, especially related to Venus. There's multiple people that I've talked to that seem to have a connection with Venus, and it's all very fascinating. And Robert,
one of the most famous residents of Mount Shasta was Dorothy Martin, aka Sister Thedra, and she's very famous for taking these pictures of strange cloud formations, which circumcumulus clouds and so forth that were shaped like flying saucers and these huge cigar-shaped motherships. And she said what they appeared to look like is what they actually really are. Is that the ships are ionizing the atmosphere around them, forming these clouds, and you're looking at a camouflage for the spaceships.
She had pictures over her house, not a cloud in the sky. And I have some of those pictures too. I've taken them where I'm just there and there's a ship just sitting like right up in front of me all day long. So this is a common phenomenon around the world, actually. You're going to say something, Ben.
Oh, well, I just wanted to say also that when we did the conference in 2018, the Venus conference in Mount Shasta in the summer, or what's it, 2000? Yeah, it was 2018. The Fox News published a photo right before then of a cloud ship
over Mount Shasta, yeah.
Over Mount Shasta, and it mentioned our conference.
So
I made mainstream.
Yeah. Rob was on Fox.
Not me.
That's
well, it was. I mean, you were mentioned, and the conference was mentioned.
Raymond wrote a book called "The Gospel of Thomas," which the Venusians gave him another wonderful technology. And if he wants to describe that, but he was able to look from his home into the Akashic records. He was given the same breastplate that Aaron had when at the Ark of the Covenant, and a special pair of goggles where he could look at text and interpret it, just like Joseph Smith did also for the when the angel visited him to interpret the Book of Mormon. And there's the book that Raymond wrote. It's a beautiful book. We're hoping to have at least a limited version published in a regular copy.
I can read a section if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'll read one section from the back of the 99th section out of Thomas, and then one out of Mary Magdalene. Oh yes, Dan Gorman, who does comic book art at Marvel Comics, he did the illustrations for the book. There's
that's a picture called the Youth Gospel of Jesus. Thomas and his twin brother, when Jesus was healing a bird, at the age of 7. He was also raising other people from the dead. 4 or 5 people are chronicled in the youth gospel of Jesus as being raised from the dead by uh, a pre-12-year-old Jesus. He had a special, unique relationship and came to deliver that message.
Okay, here's some of the verses at the end of Thomas's. Um, the disciples inquired of the master, "When will the kingdom come?" Jesus replied, "It will not get here any sooner by waiting for its arrival. It will not be a matter of simply saying, 'Here it is,' or 'There it is.' Rather, the kingdom of the Father is spread out over the entirety of the earth, but there be few who actually see it." Simon Peter urged the other disciples to expel Mary Magdalene from their band, saying, "We should ask Mary to leave us, for women have no part in the work of the brethren, let alone fellowship." Jesus, overhearing this remark, said to Peter, "Have no qualms about Mary, for I have found her worthy of the work. Know ye not that the Father created man and woman in his image, male and female created he them? Like yourself, Mary possesses a living spirit. All spirits that enter the kingdom of heaven are equal in the eyes of the Father of lights." Then it has the Acts of Thomas, which is Thomas traveling to India. Jesus sent him over there, negotiated with a merchant for him to travel with this merchant and go to the different kingdoms in India where he preached the gospel. And I'll show you the illustration. There is
Yeah, there you go. Okay, hold it there, Cos. So that's why people think that Jesus didn't die and went to India. It was his twin brother. Jesus did go when he was younger. Now, he arranged that transfer after his resurrection. Jesus was walking around after he was crucified. He had appeared and he showed up for about I don't know 90 days. He was appearing to the Greek followers and to the others disciples, and he was guiding them and sending them on their missions. And he goes, "Thomas, I want you to." He goes, "Oh my gosh," because he said, "Master, you had a lot of problems there. What am I going to do?" And he says, "Just a second, because I got to take care of Mary and mom and the kids, and I can't go to India. I don't even speak the language. I have no money." So he goes, "Just a minute." He arranges and gets him a bunch of silver and a caravan going there, where he's got a job, and he gives the money to the family, and he takes off with this merchant to have these experiences. And Raymond wrote this book like it's yesterday because he could look. I couldn't tell anyone, but he had this special technology called the Urim and the Thummim, or the knower, or the seer and the interpreter. And he was able to look into the past and re-look at it. I said, "Could you look around and see what Jesus looked like?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Could you look at the sea and turn your head?" He goes, "Yeah." I understood everything they said and the whole thing. It's an amazing gift.
Interesting.
Very
fascinating.
So Thomas's gospel ends, but it leads into the gospel of Mary Magdalene, because it accounts for her as the 13th apostle. And then so this is then this one is
there. Hold it.
Yeah, this is the gospel of Mary Magdalene, and I'll just read a few sections out of this. One evening, as the apostles were roasting some fish and breaking bread along the banks of the Jordan River, Jesus appeared in their midst, but assuming a much younger appearance. The apostles were praying and initially did not recognize it was Jesus when he entered their camp. Jesus laughed and said, "Fear not, friends, it is I, Jesus." Peter was the first to recognize him, rise, and welcome Jesus. "It is so good to see you again, Master," he said, embracing and kissing Jesus. Then the other apostles rose, embracing and kissing Jesus as well. The apostles then inquired of Jesus, "Master, where did you go, and what did you do there after you left us?" The Father of lights regenerated my soul and carried me away to the celestial realm of Barbelo, where all stand immortal before him. Barbelo is but one of the kingdoms of the Father, far beyond the sun and even the stars. It is populated with innumerable concourses of angels, to which I could see no end. These great ones are holy and perfected beings. Only those who have been purged of the impurities of the material realm can pass by the angelic sentries that guard the gates of Barbelo. So this is all this esoteric knowledge that that Mary Magdalene received, and then the other apostles were wondering what um, whether she made this up or whatever, and she said, and then she explains no, because of her, her close relationship with Jesus and so forth, and it's just a beautiful it's a beautiful. Oh yeah, here's then Peter, speaking on behalf of the apostles, said to me, Mary, dear sister, we know that the Master loved you above all women. Please tell us the words of Jesus which you remember, these words that you know and cherish, but which we have no knowledge of, the words that we have never heard him speak. I proceeded to tell them of the marvelous things taught me by my beloved when we were together and alone apart from them in the work of the ministry. There were times when I saw the Lord as if in a vision, similar in appearance to the way he just departed from us. The last time I encountered Jesus, I was standing outside his tomb, crying aloud in the brokenness of my heart. I feared looking at his corpse, knowing how the Roman crucifiers had so abused and tortured him at the cross, but I found the needed courage, bent over and looked into the tomb. So it's very it's just awesome.
I'd like to say something here. Now, he said that using the word Jesus, his real name was Yehoshua. Now, in order to be a rabbi, you need to be married and have children. So they either called him Rabboni or Master. I said, Raymond, why did you say Jesus? Well, people know him as that, but his name truly was Yehoshua or Joshua. And in India, they couldn't pronounce that, so they called him Yesu in the gospel there. But Raymond modernized and changed that. The other thing I'd like to have Raymond address, because he's an expert in this kind of thing, you notice my house got an upgrade. So
yeah, I was noticing that.
I got a piano over there. Yeah. Anyway, so religion is a big trigger for a lot of people because of the control network and the ecclesiastical authorities. I addressed this in my 11-page introduction, which I felt was interesting, which Raymond very kindly allowed me free license to write. But Raymond, can you talk about religion and the favoring of why the gospel was important and opposed to the other religions? And please share and let's try to take down the triggering from many people that are probably watching this. Oh, Jesus, the religion. Oh my God, these space people are supporting a cult and all this nonsense. So
yeah. Well, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, okay. To answer that question is that many great avatars and teachers have been sent among the various civilizations of the world since the beginning of recorded history, all with the same purpose of promoting the universality of humankind and preparing us for entry into the celestial realms when we're ready. And so Jesus, Buddha, these other teachers, and even many that we don't even know their names, have been here doing this have been doing this all along. So it's a light that's brought into the world, and the light shines in the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. And that's why many prophets that have been sent among the people on earth have have met a dire end, but they were martyrs for they were martyrs for a good cause.
That would include Krishna, Muhammad, and many other great teachers. And I know Christians are they're very obsessed that Jesus is he is very special, the highest incarnation possible on the physical plane. But the message is same, and we have to unify our thinking under the banner of truth and understanding.
These texts originally came from the Nag Hammadi excavation caves and so forth in Egypt, were discovered in 1945. And there were many parts of these texts that were missing because they were, almost 2 centuries old. So there were gaps in the text, and huge gaps and so forth. So it was quite an effort to go back and properly fill in the lacunas, or the spaces, the empty spaces there, and to adequately convey this message. So with help from both sides of the veil, the material side and the spiritual plane, is able to complete them.
He's so humble. I mean, he was entrusted with this technology. I couldn't tell anyone. It's gone now. It's the same technology that was used by the Ark of the Covenant with Aaron, and of course Joseph Smith used this. And it's pretty funny how quickly after the true prophet or inspiration goes, the information becomes distorted.
Oh yeah, as far as Joseph Smith and others that have come and gone back to gone back to the celestial realms. Their message was to just teach the people correct principles, and they would be able to govern themselves. And they never meant for these different cults and religious sects to form to form in their wake. This is because Jesus himself, when he was on the earth, said, if 2 or more people are gathered in my name, I'm there in the midst of them. And the word for church is actually not representative of a physical building. It comes from the Greek word ecclesia, which just means an assemblage of people. So when you have like-minded people that come together to do good and to advance their spirituality, this is what a church really is supposed to be.
Yeah, I think, like, again, this can be a very touchy subject, and like, I don't necessarily agree with like everything that maybe you guys are saying either, but the point is that, you're just sharing your experiences, your understanding of everything. And like another aspect to look at this is that, you're right. It's like, if you look at Buddha and Jesus, what was written out didn't appear until like 300 years after their death in both cases. It was all just verbal, and it was really the church that was kind of like starting to put this together. And then, there was a council around like 380 AD or something like that really was kind of standardizing the Bible. And that's when there's supposedly, like you were talking about, the Mary Magdalene's was removed from the Bible, and there was a lot of other things that was kind of removed. So there, even supposedly some of the things that Jesus touched on, such as like reincarnation, was supposedly even removed, and a lot of it seemed to be how the church can get a little bit more control. And then, of course, coming into today and the Catholic Church and all of that stuff. But, it's like you have the wise men that comes from the Orient, and, it's like, who are these wise men? Well, they could be, who's to say that they're not actually like, also some kind of ascended masters or like Buddhist monks or whatever that knew that, Jesus was being born. And I've done a lot of research on the Indian aspect of things. And, it's very fascinating. Again, I don't want to get too much into it because you're right. It's like people have different opinions about this, but I think that the gist of it, what you guys were saying is like the message is the most important aspect of this, really about like Jesus, whether it's Jesus or Buddha that you're following, it's like the message that they're delivering and how we incorporate that in our own lives and truly become better as people and like, not being upset, looking within ourselves and walking these more of like trying to walk in these more divine paths. And as we do that, we elevate ourselves and we can understand and unlock a lot of the mysteries of the universe. And I think if we all really strive to be better and have more compassion to each other and really work together, it's like a lot of these secrets can be revealed to us, but they're not going to be revealed if we're like bent on pursuits and not trying to do the spiritual cultivation within ourselves. Like then
Right.
we won't see those things happen.
And then I would say too that that we shouldn't limit our search for truth and understanding to just the Bible
Right.
or other religious books. But on the other hand, we should be open to new discoveries in science and history, archaeology. All of this is part of the bigger picture. And then the other point is that all these extraterrestrials and ascended beings and so forth that visit the earth, angels and so forth, they're helping to move us up into a higher category, a higher state of evolvement and evolution. And we have powers within us that are latent that we don't even use, that our brothers and sisters of other planets have well developed millions of years ago. So we talk about telekinesis, telepathy, bilocation, clairaudience, clairvoyance, all these psychometry, all these things are things that we can do, but they're just muscles that we have that we haven't used, we haven't exercised them, and when we do, we'll be a step closer to being akin to the Venusians and other Pleiadians and other extraterrestrials.
It's so
Yeah,
true.
Ben, I wanted to apologize for asking him that question, but I knew that was kind of a trigger for a lot of people. But you hit the nail right on the head, because I asked the Venusians too, because I mean, I'd heard that Mary Magdalene was his wife and all that stuff before. Obviously, I'd heard it, but I didn't really know. And Thomas was his twin brother. So I said, how could they have kept that Mary Magdalene was his wife and had kids? I mean, obviously I know it was for control. And I asked Alon, the 2,400-year-old Persian Zoroastrian beekeeper, that question, and he said, yeah. So he said, so he told me, he said, Rob, he said in 1159 in the Lateran Council, the Vatican was trying to, they wanted all the priests to turn their property over to the church. That's Martin Luther was a king. He says, I'm not giving my kingdom to the church.
Yeah.
Forget it. So he protested and didn't like the control network. And so basically they wanted the priest to become celibate. So to back that up, they had to say Jesus wasn't married. So they just, they're just throwing out the various other aspects of Gospels where Christ talked quite a bit about reincarnation. So there's many other gospels, and for those who limit themselves in their thinking, are going to have limited answers. But
Oh yeah, to back up what Rob said, if you do look in through the Bible as far as reincarnation goes, you see in Jeremiah, for example, it talks about the clay at the potter's wheel, and he was making the potter was making these various uh, vessels on the wheel. Some of them that were warped and that didn't come out right. That he would lump them back into clay and put them back on the pile. And this is symbolic of not only nations being reformed and restarted again, rise and fall of kingdoms, but also of individuals. And then you see in, I think it's in Matthew, where it talks about um, it was John the Baptist being equated with uh, his soul being a prophet, an ancient prophet of Israel being returned to the earth. So these things are there. And then
Yeah,
as
they
far
are.
as as far as what Rob said about the marriage and so forth, one of the requisites that's in the Bible, I guess they might have missed it when they were taking things out and burning all the Gnostic texts. But
Right.
it still remains in the Bible that if you're going to be a bishop, you have to be married, because how can you counsel the members of the congregation without some understanding of it? So yeah, these things are there, and there's evidence that things got tampered with along the way.
well, we can go off the Jesus flying saucer cult now.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's just
let Ben take us in another direction, because I don't want to make this like a
no, no,
cult.
no, no, yeah, no, it's totally fine. I mean, and to kind of just briefly to kind of back up things about, like, with Mary and Jesus. I mean, that is literally what the whole entire bloodline is based out of. So, Rob and I, we on Edge of Wonder, we have dived into this, and because it's like whether or not people believe it, a lot of the elites, this is what they believe. They believe that, they are descendants from Jesus's bloodline, and, the whole satanic thing got mixed in. Lucifer, I guess you could just say. Anyway, that's a whole separate conversation, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of there is a lot of things there, and then of course with the church and everything, like you're saying, it's anyway.
It's a can of worms. It triggers a lot of people, but since he's written the gospel, I've come to
No, it's
understand.
good. All right, let's completely shift gears here.
Yeah.
And something that okay, so we're going to Mount Shasta. There's this conference that's happening. There's a lot of UFO activity. Like, wrapping everything up with a final question is specifically about like UFOs and everything. Why do you think that there's been such a massive cover up to hide the truth about UFOs? And to give like some example, like after Roswell, that same year that Roswell happened, you had the NSA, the CIA, and another government organization all form within the same time. So it's like, whoa, what is going on here, and why has it been such a massive cover up from the public and from the people?
Well, I think that the people in power know that their days are numbered should the truth of it all come out. When you look at the contacts between various civilizations, even friendly contacts, that that this more superior technological civilization is usually the one that subsumes and takes and takes over. The other civilization, the weaker civilization, tends to go by the way. So this is the big fear. The only thing that they have going for them is that benevolent extraterrestrials realize that they don't want to rule over us as a dictatorship, even a benevolent one. They want us to develop our own wisdom, our own spiritual understanding, to give us time to have our spiritual understanding catch up with our technology, and become worthy members where we could enter on a somewhat equitable basis and be part of a confederation of planets. There's no good to humankind to just be just be thrown a bone and be there and just be lost in a confederation of planets that's millions of years in advance of our own. So they want us to develop. They want to give us the elbow room, and to some extent they've been holding the bad guys out, keeping them at bay to allow us to give the time to do that.
So I'll answer that in a similar fashion. Number one, they don't want us to know because, these answers are actually in my book in the recorded format. I asked this question, and they said, "We're really not a secret. Your governments know all about us," but they clamped the lid down because there's a lot of religious control, a lot of belief structures that we have that will be thrown out the window. When we do have actual face-to-face contact with a fully functioning fourth dimensional society like Venusians, the fourth dimension is time, we'll be able to look into the Akashic records like Raymond has been gifted to do several times in his life, and we'll understand the true history. They can't rewrite it anymore. So there goes the control network, and that everyone will have to put aside all the endless laws and ordinances that are burdening society. And there's a lot of money and power and control and greed that can be gathered by creating wards and creating false illusions within the people. It's about stealing and gathering power. So Commander Raines told me, when people learn about us, it'll be time for the bellicose militarists, the religious potentiates to just be away. So it's a long thing, but we have to develop the moral and spiritual responsibility. In order to become a member of the Galactic Confederation of Light, we have to end all wars. We have to have a truly representative form of government. No voting machines like that. It needs to represent people. We need to have a monetary system that's based on abundance, not scarcity and lack. And we have to share the world's resources completely. And most importantly, we have to stop killing life and destroying our planet with pollution for technology and the use and the power and aggrandizement that capitalism and money creates hoarding and competition. These are directly words from their mouth, a lot of them. So on the brighter note, the truth cannot be hidden. Eventually it comes out. And at this point, we are in a massive, people talk about disclosure, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Disclosure is not coming from the government. If anything, it's coming from people like you and Rob and other Apollo and other people, young, bright, intelligent people that are looking past the veil of the contrived, manipulated media, and to research for themselves with an open mind. Of course, they do have tremendous technologies in the television and in other frequency weapons, which are in the process of being vaporized and demolecularized deep within the earth and above the earth. The 5G satellites and the 7G satellites of Elon Musk, he can't launch anymore. Every time they try to implement the control network, it's gone. They don't have a lot of the things that they've been building that we know they have. Those are being removed. So that's kind of behind the scenes, but it's still going to be up to us to choose something, to create new platforms through free associations and to really rebuild this earth. And it starts with one person at a time achieving a more charitable, compassionate, kind, and loving nature. It's not so much about, systems and stuff. So I think that despite their attempts to cover up, the people are not stupid now, and the ETs. It's getting time that there's going to be a major solar event, and we have to be prepared for that. And so they're cutting it to the edge that they have to reveal their presence and wake us up. So we can look for something coming between 2025 and 2030 at the outside that's going to drastically change and pretty much put us on the right track. Where already the negative timelines have been altered. We're in a positive outcome future now without any interference from the dark side, so to speak. They're still running on fumes of their negative agendas, and pretty soon it's just going to be a bunch of human knuckleheads that no one will pay attention to, and we don't have to fight them; we just ignore them. So that's my good news.
And in the meantime, between mass disclosure, the cases of individual awareness is facilitating the disclosure on an individual basis. But eventually it'll just turn into a snowball effect, and everybody will know by the time an official announcement is made.
Yeah, we won't be censored. We'll be able to answer some questions because we've been in the field. Raymond's had physical contact for a long time. I started physical contacts at 17, and I'm 65. So I have a long history of discernment, and I'm careful not to expand my story and only speak what I truly have experienced and what I feel from my own awareness and understanding.
Yeah, and kind of going off of what you were saying earlier too about you're just talking about there's just fumes now, because there might be people watching this well, it doesn't seem like it. Everything's crazy, but I was meditating one time, and this analogy just kind of popped in my head about like a dumpster, and after you empty out a dumpster, you have all this grime and the really horrible stuff at the bottom. It's like the dumpster's empty, but it's just that what's at the bottom is just this it's not even that much, but it's that's the thing that smells bad. That's the thing that you just can't, it's so hard to clean. Or even if you have a trash can that's an old trash can, it's the same thing. It just gets this gunk at the bottom. And I feel like right now we're in the process of trying to clean out that solid gunk that's at the bottom that's probably been there for decades, years, and centuries, whatever it is.
Of years.
Yeah.
The intruder's influence has been very, very significant, and people don't realize the level of control within the thinking process and the systems that they've created clandestinely behind the scenes. They live a long time, and their influence, goes way back. They were cast down into the earth, and this is, there's some biblical references to true historical aspects of the earth's quarantine. But at this point in time, we, by raising our frequency, these parasitic entities and the implants and all that stuff, their lifespan is over in 2018. The portals were closed, so they last about 4 years. So by 2022, this year in September, a lot of emotional triggering along with the technologies. They're still inflaming things on the media that go into old programs, but the Venusian Valiant Thor said he said, Rob, take a cortic thalamic pause. In other words, in the cortex of your brain and the hypothalamus there, you have an emotional reaction. And then if you take a breath and stop, if you think about it, you don't have to react as you're programmed.
Yes.
Now, that's one of the most difficult things for me. I can be a fiery, emotional guy. Get me on the road, and road rage can come up pretty quickly. So probably the cause of it. But
funny.
we have
true.
to achieve a better thing. Ben, I'd like to mention once again my website, thepromiserevealed.net. Maybe you can put some lines down there and put
Yep.
your code in there, Ben10, folks. If you'd like to hear me and Raymond and meet us and many other wonderful speakers, I'm hoping, Ben, that you will. We can make arrangements. You can cut this part out, but make arrangements to bring in some other speakers that are going to be just as amazing for you,
Great.
to help you bring in some tickets and all that stuff for your to help support you coming out here.
Sounds good. Yeah. Um, yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. This has been really an amazing show. And real quick, I just want, well, before we wrap up, I mean, we did get touched on like more of a positive aspect of things. Cause I really wanted to kind of say like a final question would be like, what would you say to really give people hope right now? But I kind of feel like we've kind of touched on that, but maybe you want to go a little bit deeper, with everything that's going on in the world. Like, what would you really say to give people hope right now?
I would say that there is a purpose for everything. Nothing is coincidence. And if you're watching this show, it's probably because you have an interest in paranormal phenomena or UFOs, flying saucers. And as you explore this further to discover the reasons for your interest, the more you read, the more people you meet. Well, it's kind of like that hot cold thing. You're getting hotter, 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 hotter. The closer you get to the truth of it all. So don't quit. Don't turn back. The fact that you're doing this means that you probably have some extraterrestrial connection yourself and a part to play in this entire scenario.
I'll second that. They were all notes in the great symphony of life, and that the good news of the spiritual nature is that there's nothing you need to do. You just need to have faith and bring in the love and light. I asked the Venusians why we need faith, and they said because you don't know the spiritual beings in what we know. They actually meet these spiritual beings and these teachers and the more advanced souls who have developed beyond the material planes. So, in a positive hope, again, with what Raymond said, Ben, I think the reason this is happening, we look in the Bible, and I don't want to go, this is not a Bible thumping class, but the word apocalypse means revelation. Nothing they are doing now goes unchecked or unseen. It's revealed. And this is a choice for people to use spiritual discernment. Are you choosing fear and allowing control, or are you choosing love, allegiance, allowance, and compassion? This is a chance for us to make a transformation in our values and our thinking with true knowledge of the truth, of the revelation, to see that there is a lot of things that we have bought into, like war and the military, that's creating a theater, and we're going off killing people. We've been doing it for a long time that we don't know over an idea. We have to realize that this is all a money grab by people in positions of power. It's either money or power and control over others. I mean, people think we're ascending to the fifth dimension. We still have child trafficking and slavery and wars, and it's we really have to take a gut check on what the divine is and how we react to life. And the two great tools and the positive things are our prayer, which is talking to God, and God can listen to you. And God's not a person. The infinite knower just is the isness, always is, was, and will be. Okay, so that aspect of our of God, you can have a personal relationship with that. And the other is meditation. Meditate, from the Latin to wait in the middle. Religare means to reunite. Yoga means union. So we're reuniting in union through meditation, waiting in the middle. Wait in the middle. Wait in the middle of your breath, between the spiritual and the material planes, and connect your mind to the Almighty Creator, and unite your mind with whatever you conceive that to be. Consider it a positive life force, and know that as you do that in association with others, we're going to change this world one loving heart at a time. And that's the message of hope. And you want to know where the answer is coming from? Who's your savior? Is it Trump? Is it the white hats? Is it the Great Reset? No. Look in the mirror, folks. That's where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I wanted to add that one of the great lights on the earth was Dr. Frankie Strange's. And I've published a biography of his life on Rob's site, thepromiserevealed.net. And it's already up to part 33. It has really astounding revelations and unique photographs from the 40s, 50s, and 60s about all of his contacts and the work that he did to bring light and knowledge to the earth, the peoples of earth.
We have a series of posts under the Truth References Victory of Light blog there, but I can't post all those pictures because the loading times.
Oh.
So I post one and then I give you 10 chapters. We're losing 15. You'll have to get the book for that. That'll be out soon.
Okay, yeah, we'll have it in a book, and it's also available just a single part at a time on Lon Strickler's phantomsandmonsters.com out of McSherrystown, Pennsylvania.
Great.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much. And where can everyone find you? Your websites. I know Robert, yours is the Promised Land.
God's is too busy writing. He doesn't have a website. You can always reach him through me, and he's very busy writing books upon books. As I said, he's working on his 9th book, or 8th book on Venus, and the Gospel is already published. So he has 8 books, and he's done that since 2000, and when he started writing his Venus Rising trilogy. So we're just doing our best as Postman to deliver a positive message. And I want to thank you so much, Ben, for having us on here. And it's really been an honor to spend time with you. I really think you're one of the bright, sharp interviewers. And it was a great honor to be here. And maybe next time we can see Rob or anything. I'll send you some great people too.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, you guys. This has been an awesome show. Thanks for being here. Thanks for everyone out there watching and listening. And again, the conference from July 7th to July 10th, you can use the code BEN10 and you get a 10% discount. So thanks, you guys. Awesome.
Thank you, Ben. Look forward to seeing you there at Shasta and all of our other celestial friends.
Sounds great. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Ciao.
Ciao.